right, let's continue the show and move from confidence to manufacturing. We will also jump into the first theme of the day, data. So let's welcome Jaakko, Karhumaa CEO of Mallow, and Mathias Rönnlund, Chief Architect from Mirka. They'll showcase a step-by-step journey on digital transformations. Welcome.
Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Super happy to be on stage with Mathias. So, what about those brands? We've seen Marimekko. Pekka talked about Roger Federer. I'm so happy to start talking with Mirka. I mean, Mirka, one of those great Finnish traditional brands, which is mostly considered, to be known in the manufacturing. But we've been very privileged at Mallow to really look inside and dig deeper and see all this innovation behind this traditional manufacturing. So very happy to introduce Mathias from Mirka.
Thank you, Jaakko. Thank you for having me, and really nice to have our digital journey together with you guys. So, yeah.
Yeah. So Riikka was talking about the uncertainty, and that's super cool to see now with Mirka how we are able to really go into the areas which are not considered traditional. I think we are looking the whole journey of digitalization, taking advantage of AI capabilities, taking advantage of all the full cloud platform capabilities in many senses. And I think it's just incredible to see the rapid speed of what is required from a company really to take these steps. So I'm really happy to give it to you, Mathias, and take it away.
Okay, thank you. Hi guys, good morning. Hope you're having a nice day. So my name is Mathias Rönnlund. I'm the chief architect at Mirka. We make sandpaper and handheld sanding tools. I get little bit into that. Personally, I have a long background in software development. Before Mirka, it's my first gig at this side of the table. So I was at Fujitsu's very well hidden software development department before Mirka. If you've gotten a parking ticket in Espoo on Vantaa or almost any Finnish city, I was the architect for that system. And yeah, basically, in theory, I could go into the system and delete the parking ticket, but yeah. And before that, I was at Basware and then some smaller companies in Espoo and Helsinki. And I live in Vaasa. And yeah, so that's my background. So Mirka, we're almost exclusively based in Ostrobotnia in a city called Uusikarlepyy, which is a small municipality between Kokkola and Vaasa, basically. So we're we're in the same situation as Ponsse, for example, a successful company exporting almost everything and in the countryside and being a bit of an outlier in that sense. So just a short, I didn't know much about sanding before I joined the company. Now I know a little bit more. So on the bottom here, you can see some of our sandpapers. Those are round because they are round because they go on the sanding machines. So here on the left-hand side, you can see my colleague Sara, who is implementing our PLM project for Power Tools. She's actually a very skilled project manager. And behind her, you can see hanging two sanding machines. So this is like the whole concept of the sandpaper, and it's not always paper, the sanding machine. And then here you can also see a vacuum cleaner or a dust extractor, as it's called in the business. So you see all of these sandpapers have hole in them, and the one on the right is actually a polyester fabric that we knit in our factory in Karhumaa. So when we sand, actually all the dust, or like 99% go through the vacuum cleaner into the holes and into the dust extractor. So if you're building a house, go somewhere and buy or rent a Mirka machine, and you won't have dust from putty coming down 2 years after you moved into the house. And on the right-hand side, you can see my colleague Marika holding a ceiling and wall sander. So yeah, and the reason why I have collision repair is the biggest customer segment. So if you crash your car on the highway, it goes lunastukseen, but if you crash it in the S-Market yard, you will have a small dent, and there's a lot of sanding to fix that dent. So we've been growing really rapidly. You see, in the last 10 years, we more than doubled the company. We will do maybe 430 million revenue this year. And you can see here also that Europe is by far the biggest segment, but with the amount of cars in the US, that gray area there should probably be a bit bigger, and we're working hard on that. Here is a picture of our factory in the village of Jeppo in Uusikarlepyy. This is maybe 2 or 3 years old, because in the lower right corner we've now built a sand factory, or they're not making sand, but it's basically. And then behind the high bay warehouse on the left-hand side, we built another warehouse, and I think we have some other things. So this is the main factory. Then we have one in Oravais in Kai country. So you know, Barabastu-Kai, and then we have a factory in Pietarsaari as well that makes all the machines. So I'm actually going to talk most about AI and how we're doing all of these things at Mirka. So we've kind of made this pyramid, and on the bottom, I'll go into all of these, but we have like office or personal productivity at the bottom. Then we have AI integrated into commercial systems, AI agents and workflows, and then machine learning on top. But let's jump into it. So I mean, everybody is probably thinking about how to get adoption and everything. So we're focusing now mostly on getting people to use ChatGPT and Copilot and stuff like that, and start to use it for summarizing stuff. One hugely successful use case is taking EU regulation and creating a custom GPT for that, so people can start asking questions about the Frascati regulation on how to book R&D expenses and stuff like that. So we're saving a lot of money, and when we're not using Ernst & Young or KPMG to give a 100,000 euro analysis on these things. We're increasingly using the new ChatGPT project feature, if you haven't seen it, where you can be several people collaborating. So we're uploading a lot of like generating RFPs and analyzing answers from vendors and stuff like that with the project feature. So we're not doing really like traditional RFPs, but this is just a slide from our AI strategy that I presented to the management last week. And so we're using Copilot Chat included in the M365 license. That's everybody can use, and it's secure since you log in with your normal like Mirka account. Then for knowledge workers, we have a ChatGPT enterprise version that comes from, so there is a family-owned company called KWH that owns Mirka, and then there are, I think, 3 or 4 other companies. So we took like one for the whole group. The digital department is in charge of licenses, tools, and policies, what you can do and what you can't do. In the policy now, we actually wrote that everybody at Mirka is encouraged to try all kinds of software. But if you try something, give a heads up to the digital department and don't put any secret or internal material there. So a lot of big corporations, I mean, they go and block ChatGPT in the firewalls and stuff like that. But I mean, that's pointless because people are working from home and you can't block people's home firewalls anyway. So we encourage people to try whatever you want, but don't put any secrets in there. Don't put the recipe for the Abranet sandpaper in there or something like that. And then we're working closely with HR, so they are arranging like training and stuff like that. And we have a learning system called Mirka Academy for internal use. So the AI-centric products. So this is maybe the biggest shift I'm seeing from a customer standpoint. That earlier, when you procured systems, you made these long RFPs where you had all the asses of the old system and ways of working, and then all the new stuff you wanted to do. And it was a long list of requirements or whatever, and you sent it to vendors and they needed to fill it in. And I've done this at Fujitsu too many times. And the thing is that with AI, a lot of new features in system. It's not always AI, but the AI boom has really gotten all software teams in the world basically thinking, how can I automate stuff for my end users? I mean, systems used to be like you load stuff from the database and show to the user, and then he does something and saves it back. And it was very input-output. Now, and this is why this is so important. When you have this long list of requirements, to fulfill that, the system needs to be maybe 15 or 20 years old and been developed for a long time, and you will have 5 million lines of code in the code base. So what we are doing more is to define the minimum set of requirements just to get going. And then we evaluate those, but we evaluate the innovativeness of the vendor and their future roadmap at least equally as what they currently have. Because I mean, if we will live with the system, we don't want to buy like the end of the line. We want to buy we want to be at the station starting the journey with the vendor. And here I have the FOFU there in the top, the fear of effing up. And this is hindering people because when you, as in a corporation, go in and suggest that, hey, let's go with the challenger, let's go with this startup doing something really amazing here. When that succeeds, you might have a little upside, but if it fails, you might even get fired in some corporations because you failed up massively. So people don't dare. They rather go with the old traditional stuff that everybody has, because then if it fails, it wasn't your fault. How could it be? Because everybody's doing this, but the upside is so small. So one thing that I'm trying to do is really talking in the organization to dare suggest the challengers, because we want to start the journey with them. Because I mean, corporations are full of software and commercial off-the-shelf software. Then about agents and stuff like that, LLMs as software components, I mean, that's a new architectural part. Earlier you had your web and mobile, and you had databases, and you had this and that message buses and stuff like that. Now, to introduce LLMs inside of software, so we do a lot of coding. So having an LLM, so the customer or the user enters something, and then you send it to an LLM, and you get some structured data back, or whatever the use case might be. So to really start introducing this as a tool inside of development. Then, of course, API-connected bots, looking at MCP as a protocol, but maybe if you do an HR bot, which is probably one of the first use cases that everybody tries and half fails because the internal documentation around your policies is not good enough. But if you say, I'm sick, what should I do? And it says, yeah, you can be sick for 3 days, and then you have to have a doctor's note. And then you should also put it in the HR system. But I would like it to be like it would ask, should I put it in the HR system for you? And then you type yes, and then it does it. So you don't have to go into this system where you go once every 2 years and you have to learn it all over. And then, of course, automating workflows. This is maybe the hardest part for us. We haven't been a very process-driven company since Mirka used to be small, and now we are big, and it's lagging behind. So really getting people to know how to define a process and draw flow charts and stuff like that, and drawing them on a level so even data exchanges are showing in these workflows, because those are the ones we can automate with digital means. Then I think this was mentioned, testing stuff. So what we are doing now, we've realized that we have a lot of manual small stuff. I mean, I heard recently about we have somebody in the finance department fixing some VAT percentage on almost all travel expenses, because the VAT is different for the breakfast than for the room or something like that. So there's a lot of these things in corporations, and now we really want to lower the threshold. So we are setting up now this AI and automation team. The solutions probably most often won't be AI, but we want it there so people will send in all their crazy ideas as well. So these will be these small things that maybe optimize like 30 minutes of work for somebody per week. But when you scale it to 200 use cases, the effects can be pretty good. And of course, everybody who has I want to do this with ChatGPT, or I want to try this and have these ideas, we want to staff this team also with competence around this. So it won't just be the HR pushing training on everybody, but everybody who has an idea can turn to this team. So it's a well-advertised team inside of the company, so people can go there and ask, hey, and let's see. Maybe, and we need to work on the intake process here as well. And then the machine learning. And the MCP in the former case, I mean, in companies and B2B, you do a lot of product data syndication to resellers. You do like EDI integrations. EDI is the 70s text-based standard where you with FTP or something transfer files. I'm hoping that MCP might be able to help with data syndication, and maybe you can start having some more agentic workflows to synchronize data between like a reseller, a hardware store in our case, and our things. And then around machine learning, this is of course the hardest part, but the one that can give you really competitive advantage. So short term, we are of course using, I mean, we try to push it to the vendors of the system to integrate AI, but another thing is there are a lot of machine learning models you can do. I mean, our CRM system doesn't really do like customer churn and segmentation, which are mentioned here, but there are really good models ready on the market. You just go into your Databricks environment or whatever you have, and just it's pretty easy to get like these things going on your data. You don't even need that good data quality to do it. But then long term, of course, we're training a lot of models around steering robot arms to do like robotic sanding and error detection in our own production processes. So we have a lot of things going on here. And then the next, so in summary here, I mean, if you start from the top, data and AI literacy, this is something we need to do so people even know what to ask for. People don't know how much data we have. They ask for reports. I need this report and this thing. We need to start thinking about how can we as a company like give people tools. I mean, most people can write a prompt, and in Databricks there is a lot of AI. So we use Databricks, and to just do write some SQL for me or whatever. I mean, you can prompt your way into really advanced things. Then, of course, a lot of AI things that we are doing, usually they stop in the beginning. There is some data quality roadmap. People have these very fine ideas, and then we notice that since we've had manual processes, the data is made by people for people, which is a nightmare because then we first need to have like a data redo how we work. Then one thing that is really difficult, at least at Mirka, and I think a lot in the manufacturing industry, that you have silos. So you have the R&D department developing, and you have production department producing, and you have marketing, and they have very fixed ways of how to communicate with each other. And then the last one, I think we are very good at collaborations with schools and universities. I encourage everybody, if you have an idea you want to try, this is free labor, free, zero cost. I mean, you need to tutor them, but I tutored a diploma student from Aalto last spring and summer, and he, for example, wrote his diplotyö on. So we are investigating voice and audio more as user interfaces, especially for our very big field sales, so they could start talking to the CRM while they're in a car going from one customer to another. And then when they dictate the customer meeting, he investigated what should we do so the whisper model or whatever that is transcribing would understand our product names, our customer names, people names, and stuff like that, so we get accurate stuff in the visitor reports. We had another graduate student from Åbo Academy who took all visitor reports from our CRM system and summarized those. So we have 20 data companies around the world. So every month that goes through all the visitor reports, creates a summary of those, and management from that data company or top level management can go in and see what happens, because they don't have time to read, of course, 1,000 visitor logs in the CRM. So we've done a lot, and I encourage you, and almost everybody we've done a diploma work with, we've hired. Because you already know them, they know you, and it's so easy to just keep going. So it's like a free introduction period. So yeah, really encourage you to try this. So that's our bulldog. You might have seen it in woodshop in 5th grade on a yellow sandpaper that you put around a 2x4 or something like that and did some sanding with. But yeah, so thank you. Any questions or comments?
Let's give up.
Thank you, Mathias. We have very little time, but there is some for 1 or 2 questions from the audience. But while you're thinking about that, I'm going to ask you one. So there's a dilemma often with what should you buy from your partners, what should you outsource, and what definitely to keep in your own hands. So how would you approach that?
Yeah, so I think it's very important that you own what you build. So we have now, I think, 13 product teams. So our ERP is actually split into 3 teams. Mirka.com is one team, the commerce platform and our partner portal is one team, Mirka.com is one team. And this has been working very good. So we try to keep the product owner as a Mirka people, but we're very clear on that when you're in a team, it doesn't matter who the employer is, then you're in the team. And we have partnered with a few select companies where we found like good people, and then we work really closely with them and try to see in these product teams what kind of competences are needed here and what should we do and how can we help each other. And this has also allowed, I mean, normally people or companies work with other companies of the same size, but this has really allowed us to work with companies that are bigger or smaller and really partner with them. So yeah.
Great. Thank you. Any questions in the audience? Now I scared you off when I said there's only 1 or 2.
Yeah. It's blinking red here.
Yes, blinking red. Yes, 2 minutes over. Thanks, Mathias. Really interesting. Will you be here for the rest of the day so
yes,
people can come also grab you by the sleeve and have a chat? Okay. Good. Thank you, Mathias.